What if Bo Nix is actually decent? What happens then?
What happens if Johnny Football's actually decent? What happens if Deshaun Kaiser's actually decent? What happens if Kelly Holcomb's actually decent? Do I need to keep going on here?
Well, I think there are discernible differences between
Brandon Whedon,
Bo Nix, and Brandon Whedon.
All right, Mike.
Yeah.
We're back. We're talking NFL.
Oh, boy.
FanDuel completely vindicating me. A couple weeks back, we did a segment about how the current free agents, you could put together a better offense than the Denver Broncos' current depth chart. I stand by that, and you know what? I'm vindicated by these FanDuel rankings. They're the power rankings up on the screen right now. Mike, again, the Denver Broncos are a train wreck. How many different fantasy football names could you make just based off of how bad the Broncos are going to be this year? I mean, everything from I don't know, Mile High Disaster to Mile High whatever. You know what I'm saying? How bad is this team?
So FanDuel is now officially surpassing Madden as the official ratings of the NFL. Derek, let me remind you that this team was almost a playoff team last year. They've lost Russell Wilson, but the roster is not good. But it's not 32nd in the NFL bad. Like they still had like a core that was like somewhat competitive. Like they blew some games that they probably could have been a playoff contender had they not blown. Let's not, forget blowing the lead to the Commanders. Let's not forget, the terrible Patriots game. Like there are like a number of things that had to go wrong. It did for the Broncos to be as bad as they were last year. I'm just saying I don't think they're 32.
Okay, then let's just
Yeah.
talk about this then.
Yeah.
All right, you're missing Jerry Jeudy. Okay, Jerry Judy's not the top receiver by any means for the Broncos, nor has he been a productive talent.
What did Jerry Jeudy do last year?
I agree with that. I'm saying, but you're down him. You're down Cooking with Russ. Okay, you're down Simmons, who was the heart and soul of your defense,
and the veteran leader. Simmons is he's the biggest point you've made so far.
Okay, you're down an offensive lineman. Instead, you now sign Miners, who $80 million.
The gut.
$80 million.
Yeah.
He's making more than what Caleb Williams is getting.
Well, that's a whole different ballgame there. Well, we'll talk about this in a different segment because I'm going to point out rookie contracts are not what they once were. But go on.
That's why you stay in NCAA and get that boost from money. Anyways, so all right.
Minor league football, not NCAA.
But who did you sign that made it better? You now have the oldest rookie quarterback you have. You could have had the top defensive talent coming in.
I agree.
I mean, what did you do in the offseason that made this a better team?
So here's the deal, Dirk. I think the Broncos have some young players they're trying to develop. They tried to go the longer-term vision of we're not going to try and contend for a Super Bowl this year. We're not going to break our salary cap by signing a bunch of players when we're not in a window to win. So I think what Denver is doing is a longer-term play of building from the bottom. And so it's an odd position to be in. They've literally, I think, resigned themselves to saying this is a 3-year plan or a 4-year plan to try and get
If
better.
that's true, then you should have taken the top defensive talent.
Well, I agree with that. I'm not a huge fan of the Bo Nix pick, but someone would also say...
But that blows up your 3-year talent. I mean, if
not
he's a bust,
necessarily.
No, if he's a bust, that's 10 years down the road. You're trash.
But if he's good, you're building around him. He's probably not going to... He's not going to win you a Super Bowl. How many rookies have won a Super Bowl? Tell me that. How many rookie quarterbacks?
Not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm saying they're going to be trash.
My point is that they were not...
They're going to win the opposite of the Super Bowl.
They're not
the 32nd team.
The toilet bowl.
Yeah.
They are not in a contending window next year, no matter how you cut it. Whether Nick sucks or whether he's good, they're not contending next year.
Here's my next argument.
Yeah.
Out of all the trash teams that you can think of, the Broncos are distinguishable because they didn't put anything that's immediately going to make this team better. You cannot tell me, and this is going to inflame YouTube comments, you cannot tell me that Bo Nix is better than Russell Wilson. Okay? So you've gotten worse at the QB position. Now, in the future, you might get better, but you've gotten worse at the QB position.
3 to 4 year plan.
You've lost your second wide receiver and did not replace him with someone that is probably going to be as good this next year. Maybe 3 to 4 year plan. Maybe.
Drafted a rookie.
Contingencies, right?
Go on.
Okay. You lost your best defensive talent, at least locker room wise.
Second best. Definitely not better than Sir
Locker room.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's go to the other teams. All right, if you're the dumpster fire Giants, okay, at least you got neighbors, and you have like a top talent that is come and really revitalize that offense in
How
some
many
way.
downs has he played in the NFL?
Doesn't matter. It's still better than... I'm going to say Neighbors is better than any wide receiver that the Broncos have. Flat out.
We'll see.
Flat out.
TBD.
Okay? All right, Arizona. Marvin Harrison Jr., okay? That's generational talent right there that you've just pulled in. Is Bo Nix generational talent? No!
Unlikely. Less likely.
No. Okay.
But could potentially be a good quarterback. That's potentially. It's all potential with rookies.
Okay.
What if Malik Neighbors tears his ACL in the first play of scrimmage?
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Then how about the Chargers? Chargers are going to be competing with the Broncos for the bottom end of the AFC West. At least with the Chargers, they're distinguishable because why? They have Justin Herbert. They have a proven quantity at the quarterback position who's a top 10 talent.
Well, and I don't hate their picks as much as you do either. I think that they actually got much better.
But I can see their plan.
Yeah.
I can at least see their 5 to 6 year plan.
Well,
I can't see it with the Broncos. If the Broncos fucked up with this last pick,
yeah,
it's over. I have seen this story too many times.
He feels so strongly that he uses a strong language.
This. I am a Cleveland Browns fan. I watched this happen time and time again, and the more you reach for quarterbacks, the more desperate you get, the more you reach for quarterbacks, and then it's just a cyclical death spiral.
I'm in agreement with you. Like, we've done segments on this. I don't love the Bo Nix pick, but Dirk, it goes out the window. What if Bo Nix is actually decent? What happens then?
What happens if Johnny Football's actually decent? What happens if Deshaun Kaiser's actually decent? What happens if Kelly Holcomb's actually decent? Do I need to keep going on here?
Well, I think there are discernible differences between
Brandon Weeden,
Bo Nix, Brandon Weeden.
Bo Nix is so comparable to Brandon.
He is not comparable.
He is just as old almost.
The age is the only. Okay, that is the only discernible comparison between Brandon Weeden and Bo Nix. Like I said, Bo Nix is the risk-reward scenario. For the rest of the Broncos situation, it really was trying to configure the cap space, get that situation right, clean the plate from Russ. Look, the Broncos screwed that situation up, I will say. Wilson should be in Denver still this year, is my take on this. There is no scenario where it's a good thing that you're paying him to play for an AFC, contender. And if the Steelers do well, the Broncos have paid for the majority of Russ's success this year. It's a bad situation. Denver is just trying to mitigate the bad situation. Unfortunately, sometimes that means taking it on the chin and recognizing we're not in a window to contend.
We're saying
that's where
I am in total agreement with you. If they capitulated and said, you know what, we're throwing away the next 2 years, we're going to rebuild around Surtain or something like that, okay? I can see that. And I honestly think the fan base would see it as well. Denver's known for being one of the most fickle fan bases, talking about just revolting after things go haywire and whatnot.
That is.
However, the pick is if the Bo Nix pick doesn't make any sense.
Look, I'll tell you this: they've done worse in the past, and although it didn't work out, the Broncos drafting Tim Tebow didn't go as planned. I think when they took Tim Tebow. But the franchise turned it around nevertheless. Was Tebow a good quarterback? No. Is Bo Nix probably going to be a better quarterback? Yes. My point is, Denver picked Tebow. They had one terrible season. Then the next season they were in the playoffs and won a playoff game. Then the Peyton Manning era started. So, is all hope lost? I don't know.